Hey everybody! When you're working toward permanent residency, the Skill Assessment Authority goes over every corner of your work history for the past 10 years. Today I'll give you some tips on how to pass your skill assessment and get 10 points toward your visa. VetAssess and Trade Recognition Australia are common assessment organizations, but you should check the Home Affairs website for which assessment authority you need to do for your occupation. Stage 1 is gathering evidence of work history. You want to be as thorough as possible. It's here you want to dig up work stubs, tax returns, bank statements. When it comes to proving your skill, make a basic portfolio showing your knowledge. Here's an example of a page from my portfolio. Photos and videos help a lot, as your assessor may even skip the interview question if they have visual evidence of you performing the task, though that's not a guarantee. You'll be asked to make a table showing what evidence you are providing. Take a moment to look at the one I made. And here's my CV that answered a lot of my assessor's questions. It should be no more than 4 pages and lists how many hours you worked at each job for the time you worked there. It should also mention each task the skill assessor requires you to know for each occupation. Make sure you let your references know ahead of time that they may receive a call from the assessor. You'll be asked to provide certification letters verifying your employment. You may even be asked for supplier letters that shows that you do business with a certain company. This must also be provided on company letterhead. As a carpenter, or chippy as Australians call us, I had multiple clients, so I often had to help my client craft these letters since the assessor demanded very specific wording. If your company doesn't have a letterhead, make them a simple one and have them sign it. Just make sure they agree with what is being stated and everything mentioned is factual. Stage 2, the technical interview. This was so scary to me because I had to travel all the way from Texas to Dublin, Ireland, then hop on a train to Belfast, all because there were no assessment centers in North or South America. Fortunately, due to the global health crisis going on, they are now conducting these through Skype. Bad news is the processing times are taking longer than usual. You might spend 6 months on Stage 1 and Stage 2 combined. Here are some tips to ace your technical interview. Number 1, listen. It's easy for our nerves to take over and lead us to talk about our skills, trying to impress our assessor, but a better way to pass is to speak only when asked. Often your questions will be yes or no questions, or asking you to identify components on a slideshow. Sometimes you'll be asked how you get a job done. Number 2, study. Study up on Australian work, health, and safety, especially if you are a trade worker. Last thing Australia wants is a migrant getting themselves or someone else killed because they didn't know basic safety. They will ask you lots of questions about safety, so use the material they provide and always mention safety before you go on to describe the rest of your duties. Number 3, don't change the subject. If you don't know the answer to a question, don't change the subject to make you sound knowledgeable about something else. Instead, use positive language to show you are open to learning. For instance, I'm not familiar with that technique. In my country, we do this instead. Would you like me to describe how I do it? And if you have absolutely no idea what the answer is, don't panic. Just say something like, I'm not actually sure, but I'm currently familiarizing myself with the Australian standards so I can do it the correct way. By doing this, you are showing you are engaged in learning and interested in figuring out solutions. Anyone can study and memorize, but it's impressive if someone is willing to figure out how to solve an issue. Study, study, study. Even if you've been in your occupation a long time, go over each component by studying the material your assessor will send you. Watch Australian YouTube videos of your profession to learn Australian terminology. Speaking their terminology will be impressive. If you have worked in your occupation for at least 2 years, you will pass this interview, but only after familiarizing yourself with the study materials and demonstrating your knowledge of safety protocols. If you do fail your interview, the good news is you don't have to pay the full fee again. Typically, you would have to pay half, but make sure you have enough time to study the components you didn't pass before your second attempt. You won't have to be interviewed on every component again, only the ones you didn't pass. By going by the advice in this video and also searching online forums for what other migrants in your occupation experienced, you'll pass this thing with flying colors, as I did. That's all for now, but I wanted to let you know I'm working on an ebook to guide migrants on each step of immigrating to a new country, specifically Australia. I'm aiming for an early 2021 release date. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content and for news about the new ebook. Thank you for watching, and until next time.